First thing I'd have you do if you were my client is I'd have you scheduling in for the next 6 months uninterrupted family time. And I would tell my staff, you can do this by the way, I'd tell my staff, this time is sacred and you cannot interrupt me except for emergencies. And by the way, we're not having any more emergencies. You'd be surprised at how employees step up to the plate when you set a boundary like that, really. Now, in the case where you're working for somebody, a lot of people will say to me, oh, but you don't understand. There's no way I can come in at 9 and leave at 5. That's not the culture here. The culture here says you must come in at 7 and you must leave at 10. I understand that. That's a very real concern. The very first thing I say to that is this. I want you to then go into your boss and ask your boss to work with you in trying an experiment for 30 days. I did this with a client, a woman who came to me who was in a lot of physical pain because she'd go into work at 7 and leave work at 8 or 9 at night. High-tech firm. That's called nuts, people. That's insanity. And the only reason this woman got to me was because her body was breaking down. You see, our body is the last place for the stress to show up. And when I said to her, we need to put boundaries around the hours that you work, she said, there's no way that's going to happen in my company. I said, okay, here's the deal. I want you to go into your boss, tell your boss you're working with a coach, and that you'd like to try a 30-day experiment, and would he be willing to let you shift the way you work to see if you could be more productive in less time? And she did that, and of course her boss said yes. Why, probably? Because she was in so much pain she was starting to lose work. I'm sure that he could see the medical bills climbing, but he agreed. During that time, we took a careful look at how she worked. This woman was checking voicemail and email every 10 or 15 minutes. That creates overstimulation in the body. It raises our adrenaline level, which makes you unproductive, really. It makes you feel energetic, but you're unproductive. So we had her check voicemail and email at 10 in the morning, at 4 in the afternoon. I had her shut her door for 2 hours a day, inform everybody. We had her do things like she had to come in at the same time, leave at the same time. She had to eat lunch every day, and when the weather was nice, she needed to leave. Now, that's not time management. That's called self-management. One of the things we all need to remember when it comes to time is that you cannot confuse tough choices with no choice at all. Whether you're a single mom with 2 kids working full-time, or a dad who's working 3 jobs trying to raise your family, I understand that there are the pressures that we all have in life. But let's remember what's important. The people come first, your health comes first, people in your lives come second. And when in doubt, you need to get your priorities straight. Now, the interesting thing about this woman, Gail, the woman I was telling you about, when she finished at the end of the month, she was more effective and productive at work than she had ever been in her whole career. And guess what happened? Her boss came to her and said, okay, Gail, I want to know what you're doing because I'd like a life outside of work too. That's called the beginning of a culture change, my friends. When one person has the courage to stand up for their life, for their family, for what's important to them, when they set the boundaries and when they commit to managing themselves instead of time, because it's never about time management. I think time management's an oxymoron. You can't manage time. You can only manage yourself. And if you don't know, if you need an assessment about how effectively you work, then you need to reach outside of yourself to somebody else who can give you that perspective, because you deserve to have more time in your life for your family. And let me close by saying this. This is very important. And I'll use work as an example because that was the first one that came up. Many of us, when we live a work-centered life, and this is for moms as well who are spending 24 hours a day raising family, when you live a work-centered life, there's a good chance that you're getting an awful lot of your needs met at work. Your need for community, your need to feel important, your need for recognition, you're getting your need for collaboration met, a need for accomplishment met. When you're getting so many needs met at work, your personal life gets awfully boring. That's why people will say to me, I don't know what it is. I don't want to work as hard as I do, but then I stop and, I go home and I just don't know what to do with myself and I end up working again. Yes, because there's a period of time between where you have no time and you're living a work-centered life and the place where you have an abundance of time called the dead zone, where you might be bored and you might feel uncomfortable and you may feel tempted to get pulled right back into that work that you brought home in your briefcase or in your head. But if you can hold on through the tension and get to the other side and start investing more of your time and energy in your personal life, in your family, you will start to get a sense of fulfillment that comes from abundance in those areas, and you'll start to put the other, whether it's work or family or whatever, into a better perspective, into a better place in your life. So when we return, we're going to talk about creating an abundance of money and energy. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is one of my favorite topics, and that's money. I've been working with people's money for the last 15, 20 years and learned a lot about what gets in people's way. And I have a very simple solution about how to create more financial abundance in your life, so pay attention. Let's work with a volunteer, somebody who feels like they can't create enough money. Yes, create an abundance of money. Let's do it. Hi, yes, please stand up. What's your first name?
Marie.
Marie. Hi, Marie. So go ahead, just give me one line. Where do you feel blocked around creating more abundance?
Well, I'm a single mother with 2 young children, and I've been running my own business for 10 years, which I'm changing to a whole new business. And I just get panicked that I can't get it done fast enough. I don't have enough money coming in at all these days, and I just get really, really scared.
Okay.
And my worst fear of getting divorced is I was going to be a poor divorcee someday.
Yes. How long ago did you get divorced?
4 years this summer.
Have you been a poor divorcee since then?
No.
Okay, good. Did you hear yourself?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, because usually whenever we get scared, our fear says things to us that just aren't true, right? Okay. So the very first thing I want to say to you is this, and I want to say this to everybody. This is very important. We have got to have compassion with ourselves around money. This is like one of the areas where everybody beats themselves up, and it's a place where so much fear comes up, right? Yeah, keep breathing. Just keep breathing. So say a little bit more about the fear.
I just get scared that there's just not going to be enough at some point to pay the bills.
Just breathe for a second. Okay, this is good, because when you start to cry, it means the truth is coming up. It's going to be okay, all right? I just want you to breathe for a second. Close your eyes for a second. Okay, just breathe. Just breathe, because we're going to just get this handled once and for all. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, okay, all right. So when you close your eyes for a sec, and just notice, I'm going to ask you, what's the fear really about? And just notice the first thing that comes to mind.
That I can't take care of myself.
Yeah, okay, good, all right. So I think it's really hard for single moms. It really is. Because mixed in with the fear about can I support myself financially is really the pain of feeling like you have to do it all alone. And for a lot of moms, by the way, whether they're single or not, a lot of moms feel like they have to do it all on their own. So here's what I want to tell you about money. And you're already halfway there, so you're going to be lucky. I can tell you're already halfway there. And I want you all to write this down. This is very important. Financial abundance flows when you trust yourself enough to handle it. Abundance flows when you trust yourself enough to handle it. So what that means is, as we take the steps, the responsible steps of paying the bills on time, as we balance our checkbook, or pay somebody else to do that, because a lot of people don't balance their checkbook. I remember from my old tax days when I used to be a tax consultant, 80% of the people I spoke to never balanced their checkbook. When we create a debt elimination plan and we get to work on that, what we're doing is sending a message to what I call our wise self. That's the part of us that always has our best interest at heart. We send a message that says, you know what? I'd probably be a pretty good steward for more. So when you start to act responsibly with money, actually, let me say it this way. I can always find in anyone I deal with the one thing they need to be doing around their money that will open the door to more. And that's usually, what's the one thing you know you need to do to handle your money better that you keep putting off? Just answer that question, everyone, for yourself. Sometimes when we're starting our own business and we have other financial responsibilities, the way to become a good steward for more means we might need to get a temporary job to support us while the next business is growing. That's the one thing clients never wanted to hear. People would come to me and they'd say, I have this great business idea. I finally left my company. I'm now pursuing it, but I'm really scared. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to make enough money. And, my first question was, well, why did you leave your company? Oh, I hated it. I couldn't stand my job. Usually that's a choice based on reaction, what I don't want instead of moving towards what you want. In this situation, if you have a new business that's starting, that's a normal, tenuous, vulnerable time in anybody's life. When you add 2 children to that, and being a single parent, of course it's going to feel scary. You are a very bright woman. I can tell that. You've started a business. I'll tell you what you need. You need a hug, and you need somebody. I can see it in your eyes. Yes, and you need applause. Absolutely. Really, that's what you need. You need support in your life. You need to have a couple of people that you can turn to where you can honestly say, I'm scared. I really want to make this business work, but I'm not sure I can do that. And I'm afraid I might need to go out and get a part-time job, and you know what? I'm afraid to do that, or I don't want to do that, or I'm afraid if I do, then I won't be able to see my children. What we forget is that we're the ones piloting the plane. We get to make the choices about what we will and won't do. Women in particular forget that. And so in your situation, the very first piece of homework I would give you is I would ask you, do you have 2 friends in your life that you feel safe with? Would you be willing to have an honest conversation with them about the financial fear that you feel, as well as explore the option of maybe getting some part-time work?
Yes.
Okay. When are you going to call them?
Well, one of them's here with me. We'll do it on the way home.
Sorry. Okay, one of them's with you?
Yeah.
Can you raise your hand just so I can see you? Okay, great. Would you make sure you have this conversation? Yes. Good. She wrote it down. Yeah.
Coach.
Okay, good. All right, great. Thank you very much. Let's give her a hand. Huh? Really, we should all be hugging the mothers in our life. We really should, and especially the moms, the single moms. This is what I mean about we need to be compassionate with ourselves. And whenever you're afraid, the very first step when you're dealing with fear is you've got to ask for help. And it's the opposite of what we've been trained to do. In this situation, by her going out and getting herself a part-time job, maybe even exploring getting a part-time job, you will find, I would bet you this, I would bet money on this, that if you started to explore the part-time job and even maybe got the part-time job, you would find clients start to show up or business start to show up for your business. I've seen it happen time and again. That's the important point with money. When you start, if you're sitting in this room and you don't have the kind of money you want to have, and you're somebody who doesn't balance your checkbook or doesn't pay your bills on time or continues to use your credit card when you can't pay off the balance you already have, this is not about beating yourself up. What you need to know is that behavior, you might even be somebody listening to this or watching this who's sitting with a whole bunch of money in a bank account knowing that you really should be investing that well someplace. Even that situation is preventing you from bringing more abundance into your life because you've got to become a good steward for it. You have to let your wise self know that you'd be able to handle more if it showed up. And the way we let our wise self know that is by acting in responsible ways. So if you want to create financial abundance in your life, you need to answer this one question. What's the one thing you know you need to do to get a better handle on your money that you keep putting off? Write it down. That's the action you must take within the next 24 hours to start the process of bringing more financial abundance into your life. Now let's look at energy. Who do we have with energy? Yes, okay. Great. Let's look at this. Yes. What's your first name?
Barbie.
Barbie. Okay, great. So just what's the challenge, or where do you feel stuck about creating an abundance of energy?
Well, I'm a single mother by choice.
Yes.
I adopted my 2 daughters at birth. They're now 6 and 10, and I run my own business.
Okay.
So when I have the time, I feel like I don't have the energy for myself.
Okay, great, good. So one of the first things I'd always do with clients when I worked with them, I'd have them do two things. I'd have them identify 3 goals that they wanted to accomplish within the first 90 days of working together. Then I always put those aside. Because the next thing I'd have them do is I'd have them identify the top 10 things that were draining their energy. Now this could be anything from the oil change that you've been meaning to get in your vehicle. Yes, I see some of you smiling. You know, every time you get in the car you think, oh, I've got to get the oil changed. It could be the button on your favorite jacket that needs to be repaired that you haven't repaired, right? It could also be something like the tax returns that you haven't filed. Please keep breathing. Right? It could be more severe like that. I'd have them make a list of the top 10 things that were draining their energy, and that's where I got to work. Because what I discovered was that as clients began to check off these little things that were draining their energy or the big things, you could literally see the energy start moving back into their bodies. Because these things, like the oil change, the button, the taxes, if you could think of it this way, it's as if there are cords of energy that run from you to everything that's undone or incomplete in your life. Feel it? If your office looks like a bomb went off in it?
It does.
It does, yes. It is sucking energy from you right now just because I brought it up. I won't bring it up again.
Thank you.
The oil change, you get in the car or you think, oh, I've really got to vacuum this thing out. It's like there's energy just leaving your body out of that cord. You know what I'm talking about, right? So the object of the game is to restore energy. Now, what most people used to say to me is, oh, well, I just need to get up an hour earlier and exercise. Yeah, that's called setting yourself up for success. I don't think so. Remember what I said earlier. A high-quality life has much more to do with what you remove from your life than what you add to it. So if you can, tell me 3 things that are draining your energy.
The birthday presents I haven't sent my nieces, and cleaning out the car.
Okay. All right, good. I mean, how many people have boxes and boxes